Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Welcome, dear listener, to Kardec Radio. Today we are here from the live studio at Chantilly, Virginia, United States of America, and we are going to discuss reincarnation and sex. The topic is vast, and you are welcome to join us in this important conversation. You can call us at 858-769-4705 to ask your question or make a comment. Or you can also log in at blogtalkradio.com/Kardec Radio, and in our chat room we'll also be directly listening from you, from your comments, and also discussing these topics with you. This topic is quite important because we reincarnate through our sexual activity, and we also, when we discarnate, many changes happen at that level as well. We should really pay attention to the Spiritist definition of it, and you're welcome to join us. You know, many people have been sending questions, and we'll be happy to address them here. Those questions that were asked through email will be answered here at Kardec Radio. You know, our programs are always on demand. But I want to share with you that the Spiritist magazine is digitally available for you free of charge. But if you want to have your own hard copy of each issue, all you have to do is go to thespiritistmagazine.com and order your own copy. We don't have subscriptions yet. We used to have them. We had to change venue, and now we're planning on getting it back. But before we do so, they are available to you. So the Spiritist magazine is there whenever you want it. Right now, to prepare us for this important conversation, we're going to stream to you a message by Andre Lewis. It's talking about the defense against obsession and why we're selecting this very topic, because it's the very extreme of the abuse of our sexual forces. It leads us to obsession, spiritual obsession. So let us listen to this, go to our first break. When we come back, we start leading this conversation into the Spiritist view on reincarnation and sex.
Defense Against Obsession. Brother X, Spirit, Chico Javier, Medium. It hurt to see Brother Mauricio Tessi prostrated in acute rheumatoid arthritis. He prayed, suffered, hoped. Pain spread itself from his swollen knee to the whole body. We accompanied his discarnated mother, Mrs. Etavina, who was a dedicated friend of ours while on earth. We shared the prayer, while the team of spiritual nurses acted with spiritual healing resources from our plan of action. Ending the aiding task, my old friend stood up and respectfully asked to the head of the team,
"My dear friend, can I, in the mother's position, know why so much delay for the final recovery of my son?"
The questioned individual simply replied, "Undoubtedly." Here is the record of his reactions in the most recent days. And with the accuracy of a technician in his own expertise, he drew from his briefcase a small sheet of paper on which we could immediately read the following instructions, simple and expressive, which were happening on the very day of our presence in the humble room. Mauricio Tessi, 36 years, incarnated. Nature of disease, providential. Phase, experimental. Individual merit due to service to the community until the first symptoms of the disease. None. Reason for being ill, defense against obsession and madness. Help to be given, help Mauricio with the magnetic passes, but only for physical subsistence. and controlled relief until positive spiritual betterment. History. Mauricio's friends and benefactors living on higher spheres vouch for his present reincarnation. They also observed Mauricio's tendency to completely spoil the given opportunity. Worried about it, they had requested that he remain ill, according to previous lives' debts expressed in his perispirit. They took such action to prevent Mauricio from associating with unhappy entities related to his previous lives. Such entities were, for the longest time, connected to vampirization and criminality, to whom Mauricio was little by little getting accommodated. Observations from January 4th to the 29th, 1967. Date. Physical condition and spiritual condition. Day 4. Crisis. Faith, prayer, humility. Day 5. Better, tranquility, and stubbornness. Day 6. Greater improvement. Shady thoughts, obsessors nearby. Day 7. Crisis. Obedience, resignation, kindness. Day 8. Acute crisis. Moral elevation, prayer. Day 9. Acute crisis. Noble promises of outreach service, mental elevation. Day 10. Better. Good mood, rebelliousness. Day 11. Great improvement. Intolerance, less dignified ideas. Attracted obsessors. Day 12. Great improvement. Imbalance. Obsessors in his bedroom. Day 13. Crisis. Serenity. Day 14. Aggravated crisis. Superior emotions. Day 15. Acute crisis. Moving faith. Compassion. Generosity. Day 16. Improvement. Calmness. Irritation. Day 17. Great improvement. Unmentionable thoughts. Upcoming obsessors. Day 18. Great improvement. Obsessors dominating. Mauricio. Day 19. Crisis. Repelled obsessors. Day 20. Acute crisis. Trust in God. Day 21. Acute crisis. Plans of doing charity work. Promises of sanctifying work. Day 22. Improvement. Boredom. Bitterness. Day 23. Great improvement. Pitiable ideas. Interested obsessors interested. Day 24. Great improvement. Obsessors by his aura. Inner chaos. Day 25. Crisis. Gentleness. Confidence. Day 26. Acute crisis. Affability. Benevolence. Day 27. Acute crisis. Sweetness. Lucidity. Compassion towards others. Day 28. Acute crisis. Beautiful inner transformation. Rays of light. Moments of prayer. Sister Etelvina returned her son's chart between quiet and sad, thanking the devoted cooperator.
Thank you, friend. Mauricio is my son. However, both he and I, as much as you, we're children of God, and the law of the Lord was created for the good of us all.
Soon after, the aiding team dispersed. For a long time, I still remained alongside the sick, trying to meditate on my own needs and take the lesson in.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Getting to the Light, Spiritist Therapy for Discarnate Spirits is a small book that offers guidance to Spiritist practitioners and Spiritist counselors. Purchase your copy at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
If you missed out on any previous shows? No worries. We have an on-demand section of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website at www.kardecradio.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Help prevent suicide by reading and sharing these books with others. 2 great books are available to help in this Kardec Radio campaign to prevent suicide. Suicide, All You Need to Know, by the international Spiritist speaker Richard Simonetti. You can buy your copy at www.roundtablepublishing-uk.com. Also, Memoirs of a Suicide by the medium Yvonne Pereda. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Kardec Radio, live every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Kardec Radio now offers more programs during the week and weekends. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can follow the beautiful program God at Home with Francisca Kranz and the British Spiritist community. They will brighten your days by doing a God at Home meeting wherever you are in the world, while teaching you how to do the same in your own home with your family and friends. Every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will hear incredibly inspirational Spiritist talks directly broadcasted by Spiritist Network. They will be true educational moments to carry out to immortality. Every Saturday, live interviews, Bridging Health and Spiritism with the host Dr. Vanessa Anceloni. You may ask questions to the interviewed guests by calling 858-769-4705. And every Sunday, tune in to Spiritist Awareness at Kardec Radio. You will hear a series of segments on a diversity of Spiritist topics. Kardec will broadcast the Spiritist Moment with Kirsten DeMello, the reading of the Spiritist book by John DeRosa and Steve Shepard, Spiritism in Your Life with Drs. Marco and Joyce Magalhães, Spiritism and the Gospel with Luis Sergio Marotta, Spiritist Education for Youth and Children with Bernadette Leal, Spiritist Music with James Marotta, Neuroscience and Spiritism with Dr. Vanessa Anceloni, and many more segments coming soon. Enjoy it all and nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we are here live, and you're welcome to talk to us through our chat room at Blog Talk Radio or by calling directly 858-769-4705. And remember, you can also send us an email at kardecradio@gmail.com. We are here to talk about the most important topic, reincarnation and sex. There are several books that address it, from the Spirits book by Allan Kardec to books by André Luiz, Emmanuel, Joana de Angelis, which are in English. And we're going to give you some tips and hints about chapters and the part of the books that I've mentioned, through which you can also keep studying and reading, informing yourself and others in your life. Of course, when we talk about reincarnation and sex, there is a vast list of subtopics on it. We're going to try covering, some of them. But if we are not covering the topic that you want, and we are not at the end of the program, you are welcome to send your recommendation, things that you want us to address. Let us begin from the beginning. Why do we reincarnate? Well, reincarnation is needed because we cannot learn everything we need in one reincarnation. Besides that point, reincarnation is all about improvement at two directions. Let's say a horizontal action, meaning intellectually, and also the vertical one, morally, to achieve perfection. So we need to boost our intellect and also our moral capacity, our virtues. These are the reasons why we reincarnate. So, first question we ask ourselves today as a therapeutic moment: how are we improving our intellect in this life? That doesn't mean going to school, going to college only. We can improve our intellect by reading these books that we mention here all the time, because the Spiritist books are very complete and comprehensive in many ways. Always bridging Spiritist teachings with all the different sciences. So they certainly improve our intellect. But also our moral capacity. What are we doing in this life to improve ourselves? We're almost at the end of the year. Many people are already thinking about new resolutions, what they want for the next year. How about goals on self-improvement? We are talking about the need of resolving that existential emptiness that we may have, and going straight to the core of our satisfaction, which are spiritual-related goals. When we make short-term goals, such as, for example, I want to get married, I want to have a child, I want to have a car, etc. The minute we get to those goals, we feel empty again because we want something else, external to us. We are here to get the awareness that those are just means, not goals. Very noble ones at times, but we need to focus on the long run. Otherwise, we'll never achieve that inner satisfaction, that inner happiness. And in regards to sex, we are also going to do the same, from partner to partner to partner to partner, never finding the happiness we want to. And we ask, why? Am I destined never to be happy with somebody else? What is the root of it? Here at Kardec Radio, we may be able to answer to these questions. The first thing that comes to mind is, do we as soul or spirits have gender? I mean, are we women and men spiritually speaking? And in the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, Question and Answer 200, we get the following answer by the illuminated spirits. Not as you understand it. Gender, in your sense, depends on the body's organization. Love and sympathy do exist among spirits, but they are founded on similarity of feelings and attitudes. So here we get a concept that we're going to develop with you, dear listener. It's the concept that was also brought in by Carl Gustav Jung, the great psychoanalyst. He brought to us that each human mind has two facets, the animus and the anima, which are archetypal symbolisms for the masculine and the feminine. We all have the masculine and the feminine inside of us. The objectivity we may feel, the drive to objective dynamic in our lives, determined attitude, it's the masculine driving us, and could be for a man or a woman. That empathy we feel for others is a feminine drive, and it's irrespective of being a woman or a man. But of course, it's going to play a role if we're in the body of a man or a woman. Otherwise, what would it be for, right? You may be asking that. In Spiritism, we redefine sex, okay? In the sense of, if you go to the book Action Reaction by André Luiz, through the psychography of Chico Xavier, page 203, we are going to read that sex is the sum of the feminine or masculine qualities that characterize the mind of the spirit. There you go. Here we have a complete different way of understanding sex, right? Sex is then the sum of the feminine and the masculine qualities inside of us. It's nothing to do directly with the physical. The physical is just the means to achieve the very thing we're discussing here. No wonder we have spirits who incarnate, and we call it gender dysphoria. They reincarnate. The sum of their feminine is greater than the masculine, and they reincarnate in the body of a man, and they feel what we call in psychiatry the gender dysphoria, which is something that Dr. Stevenson actually studied in his book, Published Children Who Remember Previous Lives. Dr. Ian Stevenson talks about gender identity confusion or gender dysphoria. He talks about the case of a girl in India named Rani Saxena. In a previous life, she was a lawyer. She was married with 2 children in this current life. And she believes, according to her own, spontaneous past life regression, that she needed to reincarnate as a woman in this life to learn to respect women, because in previous life he was a lawyer, a man who treated women as objects, objectifying women. So she was fully aware that she needed to absorb this new life as a woman, go all the way through the steps of womanhood to really learn the lesson. That was her take. And Spiritism will certainly say that this is really possible, because she needed that experience to really come to terms with her own prejudices against women and to respect also women. Quite interesting. Fascinating. Kardec then asked the spirits, is it possible, this is question and answer 201 of the Spirit's book, is it possible for someone to animate the body of a man in one life and then the body of a woman in another life and vice versa? And the answer is yes. The same spirits animate men and women. Period. So we need to think, what are we doing in the very experience that we have in this reincarnation? Our program is very therapeutic, dear listeners. So here we're opening questions to help us really get to the focus. Why are we reincarnated in the body of a man? Why are we reincarnated in the body of a woman in this life? We cannot take it for granted because there are specific lessons. We are equal spiritually speaking, but physically there are differences that need to be observed, not to limit us. For example, oh man, don't cry, please don't go there because we have, lacrimal glands, tear glands in men and women. That's nothing to do with it. We're talking about the fact that women on earth nowadays are the only ones who can give birth. So, there you go. We can use that ability or not. Some people are reborn without the reincarnatory plan of having children, and that's okay, as long as they dedicate their lives to helping other parents raise their kids. Not having kids and simply, doing nothing else but taking care of our own selves is named selfishness. That's the Spiritist view. Why? Because Spiritism talks about the laws of life. The spiritual laws of life are such that we need to get rid of our selfishness, no matter what. The more selfless we become, the more elevated we are, the more we progress, the more we are connected with God, and the reverse is also true. So taking care of ourselves alone and nobody else is selfishness, period. And if this is what our society nowadays is proclaiming as the right way to go, take good care of yourself, period, because you have the right, you can commit abortion, you can postpone, have children, etc. Listen to your heart. Don't listen to what people say, because at the end of the day, as Mother Teresa says in one of her beautiful prayers, it's between you and God, never between, them and you. Nobody's going to help you when you get depressed because you feel guilty due to the several years of selfishness. So, you need to take care of yourself and know what you're doing with your own life. We have a friend from Germany who actually asked this very question about family planning, contraceptives. Joana De Angelis, in the book After the Storm, actually through Divaldo Franco, she explains to us in a whole chapter 10, that we may and should plan the family we want to have, such as the number of children and the right period for maternity. But we can never evade the compelling expiation or atonement that we have to fulfill in relation to previous lives. What does this mean? It means that if when I reincarnated, the reincarnatory plan is such that I have to give birth to 1 child, 2 children, 4 children, and I don't, I will feel empty and empty and emptier and emptier as I move forward in my life. Why? Because I'm postponing my very commitment to my own conscience. Because there is a reason why we reincarnate. In the book And Life Goes On, André Luiz through Chico Xavier explains to us about the behind the scenes of family planning, including adoption, showing to us that for each and every case, reincarnation is a blessing, a true blessing, and there is a reason why we are to receive XYZ spirits in our lives. Sometimes they are people we owe something, or sometimes they are people who are reborn to help us, or, to collaborate with us. Who knows? What we know is that we need to listen to our hearts. But Joana De Angelis also says, children are not the product of mere chance, resulting from random events in life. They come according to pledges accepted before reincarnation by both future parents in order to build the family needed for everyone's progress. You know those cases, dear listener, when people say, "Oh, I am surprised I'm pregnant. I didn't know. How could I possibly have given, acceptance in spirituality about these children that came to my life?" Spiritually speaking, you were fully aware, but when you're connected to the physical body, the heaviness of our matter blocks our, deep perception of ourselves. So, deep in yourself, you knew, because we're so distracted about our everyday lives, we're not, in true sync with who we truly are, spiritually speaking. So, that's a wake-up call for parents who became, surprised about the pregnancy they didn't expect. It's telling them, hey, pay more attention to your spiritual nature because it's living and you're not paying attention to it. Also, Joana De Angelis says, parents have the choice to postpone receiving the spirits with whom they have previous links. They can even totally refuse their reincarnation through them. But how foolish an act this would be. For the supreme laws of life will see it, that the rejected ones knock at the door of their debtors and creditors under different and possibly very painful circumstances. Add to this the complication caused by the irresponsibility of a couple who would have acted in open disregard of the divine laws. It is claimed that having children, not being able to educate them simply to increase the world population, would mean poverty for them and a bleak future for society. Even this argument bears a materialistic sophistry. Dear listener, Joana De Angelis keeps explaining again and again about this, and she goes to the point telling us that this idea, I read yesterday in the news that India has these sterilization camps happening in India to stop the growth of the population. With all the respect, people can do it, but we need to think a million times before we even go there. There are many ways to prevent, spirits from reincarnating without complicating ourselves. We need to plan, use our intelligence to plan our families. We can't simply go to the la la land of, falling in love, getting married, and having children, then finding out later, oh my God, how hard it is. No, we should, as Chico Xavier recommends, even have courses for marriage, courses to prepare for parenthood. It's so funny that we prepare ourselves for everything. We take courses to be nurses, doctors, dentists, but for the most important roles in our lives, we never take any course, which are building a family, from marriage to parenthood. And I know it may sound funny to you, but it's not funny at all, because we're talking about the cell of society, families. That's the Spiritist take on it. Families are the cell of our society, but how are we preparing ourselves to create a family? And there are people who even who think about their future husband and wife in this way, in such an anxious manner, like, oh my God, I want to find the perfect person for me. And in the latest issue of the Spiritist magazine, we have published a beautiful article written by the late Haddad from the United States, when he talks about how we should prepare ourselves to find a perfect person. And he says right from the bat, he says, thinking of the person, but how you would like the person to be with you. So some people, they keep their apartments a mess, thinking the day I find a boyfriend or a girlfriend, then I'm going to, clean it up and make it neat. Well, would you like that the person you meet be just like that? Be careless and then suddenly become careful the minute they meet you? They're not going to sustain it. It's not possible. So we need to prepare ourselves from taking care of ourselves first to the next step, taking care of each other, one another, and then of our children. These are the steps. Spiritism can help if we want to prepare ourselves for this scenario. Of course, we make mistakes, and as Emmanuel says in the preface of the book Sex and Destiny, he quotes from the very passage of the woman who was caught in adultery, and he says, Jesus here proclaimed to us a very important topic, which is, never cast a stone, because we all make mistakes. If not in this life, we made them in previous lives, right? We're going to give a break here and listen to Tiago. Tiago Ciccone, hello. Thank you for being at Kardec Radio. You are writing at chat room of Blog Talk Radio, and you say, hello, Vanessa. Thank you for the very important topic. I'd like to know if you could make some comments about same-sex marriage and the important role of adoption and the spiritual links that surely play a role in the adoption process. Sure. We'll make this comment soon after this break. Okay, Tiago? A short break, dear listener, 2 minutes, and we'll be back with you addressing the very questions by Tiago here at Kardec Radio.
We will return to our program after these messages.
New release, Liberation. In this compelling narrative, André Louise emphasizes the work of high-order spirits in the effort to convert the spirit Gregorio to the good, an effort that culminates with the unforgettable re-encounter with his mother, herself a highly evolved spirit, wherein he surrenders to the irresistible call of love. The book also contains information on how unhappy spirits act as they try to involve incarnates in their wiles. The spirit author tells of the intercession of high-order spirits on behalf of human beings, demonstrating the divine compassion that grants to all the blessed opportunity to free themselves by means of study, labor, and persevering service in the practice of the good. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Want Spiritist books for your children? At Eddie Save America, you will find a collection of them. From the best-selling book, Our Father, in which the Spirit May through Chico Xavier brought countless poems, stories, and folk tales based on the Lord's Prayer, to the beautiful and educational collection by the author Adelson Sales on Back to School and many others. Buy your copy today at www.eddiesaveamerica.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
If you missed out on previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand sections of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website, www.kardecradio.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Spiritism for Everyone is the live web study meeting and educational program of the United States Spiritist Council. This year, in commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Spiritism for Everyone program will present an in-depth study of this remarkable book. Join us every Wednesday evening through the web from any computer or mobile device, no matter where you are in the U.S. Spiritism for Everyone is free, open to all, and requires no registration. For more information, go to www.spiritist.us.
And now we return to our program.
We are here talking about reincarnation and sex, and we are addressing a few questions from our listeners. The topic is vast, as you know, and we certainly will not be able to address everything, but we'll address the elements that we planned and the ones that you're also asking us about. It's still, we remain with questions to be answered. Please write to us, and we'll be adding future programs, okay? So let us go back to the point of contraceptives before we engage into adoption, same-sex marriage, and so on and so forth. Joana de Angelis, in the book After the Storm, she says, God provides everything, using men to accomplish his ends. Human beings, she meant. And she says, surrender your affairs to God, trusting in all things good, for ultimately everything proceeds from God, the watchful Father of us all. So, we would say, according to Spiritism, the laws are, whatever we do, we have consequences. For each action, for each reaction, there is an action. For each effect, there is a cause. Meaning, for each seed we plant, there is, a fruit to reap. Now, a harvest for us. So we need to think. When you plan your family, what would you like your children? Would you like your children, if you were your children, okay? How would you like to be received? Because many parents have children also in a very selfish way, to prove that they're, adults, to prove that they are better. These are excuses, using external means to achieve inner satisfaction. That's not the best way to go. When we are planning to have children, we really need to talk to our partner and say, let's say a prayer first. And surrender this affair to God, saying, if you think this is the best time, we're open, but it's in your hands. Period. I have some friends who came to me and said, it's so hard to find a partner. I'm thinking about a solo enterprise in parenthood. Think a million times. First, because having children is not easy. It's very labor intensive, physically and emotionally, spiritually. Plus, if you were your child, would you like to have both parents or just a parent? I know it may vary. Circumstances nowadays are so different. But if you could plan, how would you plan it? Spiritism doesn't prohibit anything, but it tells us that intention is the most important thing in our lives. Okay? The world may be applauding us, but if I don't have the proper intention, deep inside, there is no applause, there is no praise, there's no approval. Without self-approval, our self-esteem goes down. If our self-esteem goes down, we'll be open to spiritual obsessions, and then we won't be happy. So when guilt takes place, our lives are ruined. So walking the right pathway in our lives, approved by our own conscience, is the only pathway to happiness. Okay? Regarding the teachings on same-sex marriage, I will say this way. There is a book already in English, Homosexuality, by Dr. Andrew Moreira, and you can find it at the bookstore of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. All right? He addresses the topic from A to Z. We'll say that in Spiritism, Kardec explains, Kardec doesn't talk about that in these terms, but it gives us foundation to extrapolate to it. So the fact is, question 202, question and answer, gives us some direction. When Kardec asks, do spirits prefer to be incarnated as men or women? And he says, spirits are indifferent about the matter. Decisions about sex are based on trials a spirit must undergo. So, how come a spirit is indifferent? If when we incarnate or reincarnate, we care about the fact that we're in the body of a woman and a man, or a man. Because they are saying here, when we are discarnated, we know the reasons why we're incarnating. So we accept the trial, the test. But when we are incarnated or reincarnated, because of the heaviness of matter, we forget. And there is merit because we forget, because if we make the right choices, we'll have merit. In the book Evolution into Worlds by Andrea Lewis, the same question is addressed, but it says that people may be incarnated in the opposite sex that they feel like, okay? Either to be tested or to expiate, atone, like Reni Saxena. She needed to undergo a life as a woman to learn to respect women, or a mission. For example, like Chico Xavier. For many lives, he was reincarnating in the body of a woman, body of women. And then the last one, he reincarnated in the body of a man. Why? Because he needed to fulfill his mission without undergoing a marriage. For Chico Xavier, he would not get married to somebody else because he didn't feel like he had to be married in this life. He understood that his mission was different. Okay? There's no right, no wrong. Neither right nor wrong. There's just an understanding and a choice. But what if people decide to get married to people of the same sex? Chico Xavier addresses this question in a video that has a caption already in English named Pinga Fogo, and you can even find on YouTube. There, in that DVD that you actually can buy at the sgny.org website, at their bookstore, you can find this very DVD. Chico Xavier being interviewed, and he addresses this very question, and he says very clearly, the most important thing is for people to be coherent regarding their sexuality, in the sense of, if you are if you are a heterosexual, but you are promiscuous, it's no different than a homosexual that is promiscuous. But if you are homosexual that, has decided on building a life with a partner and building a family, that's the most important thing. To be, coherent in our own inner self. Promiscuity is the problem. A huge problem. An immense problem. And you don't need to be homosexual to go there. Many heterosexuals are promiscuous. They have partners after partners after partners after partners, and that can lead to no inner happiness. On the contrary, a lot of sadness. So that's a topic we really need to address. Another thing is about adoption. As we mentioned in the book Sex and Life Goes On, there's a beautiful case on adoption at the very end of the book. You need to read the whole story to get to this very end to know how adoptions are planned in the spiritual plane. So adoption is very, very welcomed if people also prepare themselves for parenthood, okay? As much as when you're going to have your own biological kid, all right? And we need to be fully aware of our responsibility before our kids. I'm not sure, Tiago, this is the answer that you're expecting. If not, please let us know. We'll extend to the depth that is needed, okay? But we are just referring the listener to a few books that may be interesting to study about regarding these very topics. When we talk about parenthood, I want to explain to you something that you can find in the Gospel According to Spiritism and also in the book Children Who Remember Previous Lives by Ian Stevenson. The behavior of a child may be related to previous lives, and that's why we need to prepare ourselves for parenthood, to be very skillful in understanding our kids' emotions towards themselves and the families and their relationship with previous lives. Both Dr. Stevenson and Kardec agree on the fact that unusual traits and behaviors will lead to preferences, skill, fear, and interest according to previous lives' experiences. Okay? So we needed to be almost like a loving scientist to our kids, writing down and observing. Nowadays it's so much easier. We can make clips with our phones, our smartphones, video clips, pictures, and later study. I see with baby Virginia things she used to do when she was just a month old, and now as a year old, I see more clearly some of these behaviors, etc. It's quite interesting. And then I can, be more effective in my educational role if I observe, how the child is developing him or herself. And it is on me as a parent to fulfill this role. Even if I am super busy, I need to fulfill my role because there is no role more important than that. Okay? Pestalozzi, who taught Kardec, he taught humanity that when we educate a child, we need to be in solidarity with the child. He says it's work, solidarity, with the child. Because let's put ourselves in the child's shoes. You're totally dependent on an adult, and you cannot speak yet. The only way you have is cry. And not necessarily you're crying because you're being whimsical, but because you want to say something that you're not happy about or that you needs to be covered. So if we just take tears as things that are, whimsical, we're never going to address the needs of these children. And they are going to be forming a personality based on unanswered needs. Later, they are going to be in relationships that are as empty as it was with the parents, with others who also won't be meeting their needs. So you see how important it is for us to be very careful about our mission as parents. whether they're biological or children through adoption. They're our children the same way. Okay? Another thing we'd like to share is André Lewis, in the book Missionaries of Light, explains that the mind of the reincarnating spirit that is, going to be our children, especially a biological child, is under the genetics of the parents, under the tutorship of the spirit architects, and is also dependent on the mind of the mother because of gestation. All right? It's quite interesting because the role of a mother is of the essence here. Though parents together, father and mother, play a huge role, the role of the mind of the mother is essential. And of course the father, because if you are creating comfort and kindness to the mother, then it's received by the spirit who is reincarnating as well. So the mission begins way before the baby is reborn. Okay? Now, we also get to know that when we regard to our sexual activity, there is a structure in our brains named the pineal gland. In the book Action and Reaction, André Luiz explains to us that this structure in the brain releases psyche hormones according to the thoughts of the spirit. And then it's going to release a cascade of events in our physical body. Why am I mentioning this to you? Because the implications of this are immense. Meaning, if somebody is a sexual addict, go find help. Because your mind, probably from previous lives, is sending that program to the physical body, activating the pineal gland and then activating a cascade of hormones throughout your endocrine system and making you feel the urge. Though Chico Xavier was very balanced in that regard, but because he was in celibacy, he learned from his mentor Emmanuel how to talk to himself as a way to, accommodate his needs in this life to the experience of the physical body. So he used to talk to his genital organs, and this is serious because in Spiritism we understand that our cells are like soldiers working for us, okay? They are living beings, but they are not us. We have to be very respectful, and as a good master and commander of them, talk to them, saying, in this case, Chico Xavier used to talk to these cells, saying, can you bring the full potency of, the sexual drive to my intellect? And Freud would explain this. Because when Freud talks about the fact that we can sublimate our sexual drive to boost our intellect, that's exactly what Emmanuel was teaching to Chico Xavier. And you can do this by being married, single, or, whatever else option you have there. Being balanced. Because some people, they are married, but they are also addicted to sex, and they are sometimes, pushing on their partners to meet their needs. Or the reverse. And we really need to learn how to be better master and commanders of our physical body to meet the needs of the spirit, not the reverse. Not the reverse. Okay? Because after all, as André Luiz says, sex is about co-creation. Not only the co-creation of physical life, but co-creation of life as a whole. Now I'm going to give you a teaser, dear listener. We consider Jesus the guide and model, right? we understand that Jesus followed through and fulfilled the laws of God in its entirety. Now, if one of the laws of life is the law of reproduction, question, how did Jesus fulfill the law of reproduction? We'd like to hear from you. Hopefully some of you are going to say something to us. We're going to give one last break. So when we come back, we're going to address this, and some other questions by listeners as well.
We will return to our program after these messages. Want to learn more about the ins and outs of mediumship? The book In the Realms of Mediumship by the spirit doctor Andre Luiz through the medium Chico Xavier analyzes the various aspects of mediumistic communication and mediumship. He also praises the efforts of mediums who are faithful to the spiritual mandate they received before they reincarnated, warning them about the risks of badly practiced exchanges between the two worlds. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
The Spiritist magazine is a trimestral digital periodical that publishes the latest news on the Spiritist thought and the movement in the USA and worldwide at www.spiritistmagazine.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Study Spiritism online at eSpiritism. eSpiritism is an online tool to promote the study and practice of Spiritism while contributing to the preparation of Spiritist practitioners. For full access to courses, go to www.e-spiritism.org.
If you missed out on any previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand section of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website at www.kardecradio.com.
Emmanuel's Novels. The reputable mentor, Emmanuel, wrote a 5-book series of Spiritist novels that can truly transform your life. Starting with 2,000 Years Ago, Emmanuel delights our minds with the true account of characters that are so similar to each of us. Discover yourself in Emmanuel's novels and live better. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com. And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we thank you for sending your comments and your questions. And here we are talking about sex from a Spiritist perspective. We want to share with you that, in the book Sex and Destiny, there's a beautiful understanding about how Spiritism sees sex. We would recommend to all of you, please read this book. It's in English already. Sex and Destiny by Andre Luiz through Chico Xavier. You can buy it at ediceiofamerica.com. And, it's a great gift also for Christmas time and also for New Year's Eve. And there we have an explanation that in the spiritual realm, there are institutes to take care of people who have issues with sex. They have courses in the spiritual realm, courses to teach us about sex and different types of courses. And the interesting point is that during the time that we are here incarnated or reincarnated, during sleep time, you can go take these courses in the spiritual realm as well. That's a great opportunity, dear listener. And I'm not joking. It's what we call the intelligent sleep. Kardec explains more about this in the Spirit's book, in the chapter about sleep and dreams, saying that the wise men and women that have lived on earth, they used their sleep time intelligently. How? By communicating to the higher spirits while the body is at rest, by taking courses like this. So if you have some difficulties, you can go to spiritual clinics as well and talk to and do a true therapy. We would recommend if you do this every night for at least 40 days to make sure that you give yourself time to go through the whole span of a treatment, of a course, to start becoming effective in the material plane, okay? We have great experiences ourselves with this, and we have experienced that at that level, the recommendation to other people, and almost like miracles happen to people's lives in that regard. We would say in regard to sex and the institute that we mentioned, there's also an institute in the spiritual realm, and in this institute that it says the twin souls in the book Sex and Destiny, or Almas Irmãs in Portuguese, it talks about a specific department that is the Department of Complaint. You know, we're responsible for cultivating people in our lives. We cannot simply, turn our backs and say, whatever, I know you love me, but I can't, and I will just leave, and so be it. We can, but we shouldn't. So that's why we have to think a million times before engaging in any relationship. Everything begins with a look, with a smile. Later, it's one night, 2 nights, and when we see a whole relationship, and then later, what is that all about? And especially when children are involved, we need to be very, very careful. Careful in the sense of plan ahead, think well, cherish relationships, work on them to the best of our abilities. We need it. We really need it. And in this book, Sex and Destiny, it's a true story that Andrew Lewis is reporting to us. He says in the preface, true story. And with this true story, you see the drama of 2 families. And with this drama, we may see our very dramas. So it's a book we recommend for us to understand the whole 9 yards of the spiritual behind the scenes of our lives regarding sex. We need to be very careful. Very, very careful the way we use it, because sex is our creative force, and it's the way in which we really fulfill our main role as co-creators. And that's exactly what we want to address regarding Jesus, the question we raised before the break. How was Jesus able to fulfill the law of reproduction? Well, he was, and he still is, a wonderful co-creator. He did not give birth, physically speaking, in that lifetime to any being, but he still gives us life. We are as if we were his apprentices. Okay? So Jesus keeps multiplying the divine qualities by taking care of each one of us. That's how we understand it. All right? And people who don't have children, like Kardec, for example. Kardec and his wife, Amélie Boudet, they didn't have children. She was older than him. But the point is that they didn't have physical children, but the work that they did, helping humanity, really is parenthood in itself. The only thing Spiritism says is, if you are going to be living an easy life, not having children, not take care of anyone, be careful, because you're in the vibration of a selfish person. That vibration is very dangerous. You'll be under the frequencies of similar minds as selfish as yours, if that's the case. So we need to be very, very aware of our choices, whether married or single, divorced, remarried, parents once, twice, 3 times. We need to make sure that our intention behind our choices is aligned with the divine laws. Otherwise, we won't find happiness. Dear listener, we tried here answering the questions that were sent to us, and we're very grateful to the ones who sent us questions, who made comments. Thank you also, Karina, for making your comment, saying at the chat room of Blog Talk Radio, very interesting subject and really important insights about parenting and sexuality. And we would add one point here about how we should raise our children fully aware of this. Talk to them with naturality. Make them aware about this, little by little. For example, a baby, like baby Virginia. Every time I give her a bath every day, I teach her about thanking God for her body, so she learns to respect and be kind to her body. So later, she's not going to abuse her body by allowing others to abuse her either. Okay? So little by little, we're inserting that understanding that we need to be reverent to God through the respect of our physical body, through the respect of our sex force, our creative force, and sublimating it, whether we're married or single, learning to sublimate this sexual force so we can, little by little, boost our virtues and our intellectual capacity. Isn't that what reincarnation is all about? Yes, it is. So, dear listener, we hope this has answered everything. Right now, we would like to invite you for a moment of prayer, okay? Let us pray especially to those on the earth who are having a hard time with their family planning or with parenting, and also with their sex choices in the sense of, their sexual drive as well. If they have problems with sex addiction or sex inhibition, let us do the following. Let us pray. Let us pray so we can be of help as well. May these prayers reach them wherever they are. Dear Mother, Father God, you know us quite well. And you know we have a long history in your creation. And only now we're becoming aware of many things. So thank you for allowing us to understand more about ourselves, about life, about you. Thank you especially for giving us the co-creative opportunity to work with you. So please, share these beautiful blessings that you shower upon us all now with all those whom on the earth are experiencing struggles regarding sex, parenthood, family planning. May they raise their thoughts to you. Make choices wisely. May fears be vanished in the waters of your love. May they receive these healing showers to calm their sexual addictions, reminding themselves and ourselves that we are your children and we are born and reborn yet again to co-create with you. And so be it. Dear listener, we thank you again and again for the opportunity of being here with us. If you still have questions or suggestions, please do not hesitate to write to us. Kardec Radio is here open to you to nourish your soul. Next week we have a beautiful program, Healing from Depression. Douglas Block, author of Healing from Depression, the book, is going to be here talking about his very story on overcoming depression and avoiding suicide. Join us next week because it's always an opportunity to listen from you, to learning from you as well, and to sharing these teachings with everyone. If you have any other comments, we're open as well. KardecRadio.com. We have a contact form there for you. Tomorrow, Spiritist Awareness at 8 p.m. We have several hosts sharing with you Spiritist take on different matters. On Wednesdays, Francisca Kranz from Germany and Mackenzie Mello from the United States will be here discussing with you another beautiful chapter on No Solar. Can you believe they read the book, the chapter, and discuss with you? I thank you, listeners, for those who have been sending your comments, thanking for this beautiful moment. I agree with you. It's truly beautiful. On Thursdays, we have our Spiritist Talks, and next Saturday, Healing from Depression. Douglas Block will be here talking about his very book. We wish you lots of blessings, and let us keep feeling the blessings of God always.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.